Alright you guys, so my screen filler is dry. So remember, everything I've stopped out just on this step are the only areas that are going to remain that first color that I printed. So everything else is going to get covered with my next run. So the areas that I've just painted screen filler are going to remain this sort of light, kind of green, and then everything else is going to get covered in my next green. So just, again, I feel like this is one of those processes where if you think through the steps too far ahead of yourself, it gets confusing. So just keep that in mind, that every time you're laying down screen filler, you're protecting the areas that you've already printed from getting more ink on top of them. You're stopping it out. You're preventing it from getting more buildup of color. You don't necessarily need to repaint screen filler in the old areas. Once you have a layer down, it should be pretty solidly in place. So don't feel like you need to repaint those lines that you've already painted or anything like that. You just need to put one coat, let it dry, print your color. Just be careful you don't rush it between painting the filler on and printing. Give it, like I said, a good amount of time. It should be dry to the touch and not feel damp or sticky or anything like that on either side. Like I mentioned before, you can use a hair dryer. Just don't aim it in one spot for too long. Keep it constantly moving. Keep it about 6 or 8 inches away from the screen. And yeah, so I'm going to put you guys in time lapse, and I'll print my next color. Alright you guys, so I printed my second layer. You can see where I stopped out in my second pass with the screen filler to protect my lighter green, and then I printed the slightly darker green. And I also cleaned off my Mylar because I wanted to show you guys that I could always tape my image back to the screen if I need to, using those little corner tick marks that I had drawn on the screen in the beginning. So again, I just want to kind of line up those corners. I've marked all 4. I don't need to tape all 4 corners. Two is probably more than enough. I just want to make sure that my sketch or printout lines up. Voila, there we go, it does. And I could just leave the ink on the Mylar, but I wanted to clean it off just so I could, would be forced to sort of show you guys this. So now I want to trace out all the areas that I'm going to block out to keep that darker green color, because I'm going to go even darker with my next color. And it's got a little bit of yellow in it. Need to mix that up a little bit more. So this is going to go darker than that color there. And so everywhere that I want to remain this color, I need to now paint screen filler into. So I'm blocking out. Each time I'm painting in screen filler, I'm protecting the values or colors that I've already printed. And I just need to kind of, be aware of that, because if I don't block out an area, then it's going to get printed darker. And I could always block it out of the next pass, and that might still look good or look intentional. But I just need to be kind of careful about that stuff. Keep track of it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trace out my next range of values or colors. And so after this next pass, I should start to see some stuff. But again, it's still going to look pretty abstract. There's not going to be a ton of information that reads as the image just yet. It's going to be, I think, on that next run that things are really going to show up. I'm going to go ahead and finish blocking out that dragon. So I'm just kind of doodling with the pencil on top of that so I don't forget. And I don't need to fill it in completely with pencil, but just if I do a little bit of mark making on it when I go to look at it, once I've removed my my image, you know, that's taped to the bottom of the screen, or sorry, to the paper side of the screen, I'll be able to see these pencil marks still. Okay, so I am going to finish tracing this, and I will set up the time lapse to finish doing this, and then I'll start painting the screen filler in. And like last time, I'll probably just stand the board up so you guys can see what I'm painting. Again, I wouldn't bother to do that normally. I would just have the screen up and I would just paint it kind of on the edge, you know, on the side. Without moving it. Almost done. Alright you guys, so my screen filler is dry. I'm ready to print my next color. And you can see, so this is the first run. This is my second run. On top of that first run, and every area that I've covered with screen filler that I've added screen filler to will now protect or stop the next color from covering up that second green. So I'll have 1, 2, and then 3 values once I print this color on top of it. So I'm going to switch you guys over to the time lapse to shoot it, and we'll go from there. Alright class, so I printed my third color. It's dry now, and the screen's dry after cleaning it. And so again, I've just been leaving it in the hinges and cleaning it with a little bit of water from a spray bottle, you know, sponge, rags, that sort of thing. Again, if I have to unclamp it to clean it elsewhere, I can always, you know, line it up, trace, screen filler it, and just print it on the Mylar, clean Mylar fresh each time, and just line my paper up to that Mylar individually. So I went ahead and taped my tracing paper version down. So the areas that I'm going to block out next will protect this color as well as all the other previous colors, you know, that have been blocked out by screen filler. So I don't need to recoat them by any means, but I just need to be aware, like, I can't open these areas back up. So I have to be careful that I'm not blocking out anything that I'm going to need later. So it is sort of a slow way of building up colors, but it's a very specific printmaking way of thinking about layering that I think corresponds to different drawing approaches and painting approaches, but it's just sort of in a purer form with this process, with the reduction process. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trace the next layer, or next set of values onto my screen. I'm going to set you guys in the time-lapse mode for that, and then I'll leave it in time-lapse for the screen filler. I'll paint the screen filler on and then come back to you guys when I'm ready to print my next color.